invited, she often turns up anyway, and she's just there and stays there. But this time she obviously didn't dare.
Well, I'm not really surprised at this at all because, let's be honest, Meghan was a D-list actress before she met Prince Harry. And well, their massive break into Hollywood has, in a nice way, it hasn't gone as planned. She's had friends deserting her left, right and centre. She's fallen.
Reports are swirling, whispers are growing louder, and Hollywood seems to have made up its mind. Imagine this, one of the most glamorous nights of the year, an event where stars shine brighter than ever.
I'm quite sure that she didn't come in, and you can see how her friends are dropping her once upon a time friends who she used very usefully professionally, that don't want to leave.
And yet, all anyone could talk about was Meghan Markle's uninvited appearance. According to multiple insiders, the moment she entered the HBO Max Emmy nominee celebration, the energy in the room shifted instantly. Instead of cameras flashing and fans cheering, what reportedly followed was something no celebrity ever wants to face: boos, cold stares, and outright rejection. They say the room froze, conversations stopped mid-sentence, and a wave of whispers rippled across Hollywood's finest. "Oh no, not her," someone was heard saying. And from that moment, the night turned into one of the most humiliating chapters Meghan has ever faced in her post-royal journey. The story making headlines right now isn't about Emmy winners or glamorous after-parties. It's about a Duchess who thought she could reclaim the spotlight, but allegedly walked straight into a storm of embarrassment. So what really happened behind those closed doors? Why did Hollywood react this way? And most importantly, what does this mean for Meghan's future? The night was supposed to belong to television's biggest achievers. Emmy-nominated producers, actors, directors, and industry insiders gathered in a dazzling ballroom, ready to celebrate the best of the best. Champagne glasses clinked, photographers rushed to capture glamorous arrivals, and the air buzzed with excitement. But then came the moment that nobody saw coming. A moment that, according to multiple reports, shifted the mood from celebration to discomfort. Meghan Markle, dressed in a sleek black gown that was clearly meant to command attention, stepped into the HBO Max Emmy nominee celebration. There was only one problem. Sources insist she wasn't on the guest list. Eyewitnesses claim that even the security team at the door looked puzzled when she walked in, but instead of confrontation, they let her pass. And that's when the whispers started. According to one insider, the atmosphere inside the room changed, instantly. It was like someone dimmed the lights, even though the chandeliers were still glowing. You could just feel the energy shift, they said. People who had been laughing moments before suddenly fell silent, their eyes darting toward the entrance. And then, the first murmurs spread like wildfire. She wasn't invited, was she?
So she's not there. So that's a very, very big cross out amongst the grade A people where she lives. They've decided that she's...
For Meghan, this was supposed to be a grand statement, a power move, proof that she still belonged among Hollywood's brightest stars. But what she got instead was something no celebrity wants: open rejection. One producer reportedly muttered under his breath, "Oh no, not her again," loud enough for several nearby guests to hear. The comment rippled across the room, breaking the carefully curated facade of Hollywood politeness. Instead of the warm smiles and eager greetings she might have expected, Meghan was met with raised eyebrows and side glances. Witnesses say Zendaya, who had been chatting casually with stylists, instantly turned her back the moment she noticed Meghan approaching. It was almost too smooth, like a practiced move. One source described, Zendaya pulled her assistant close and started whispering quickly, making it very clear Meghan wasn't welcome in that circle. And Zendaya wasn't the only one. Pedro Pascal, one of the most talked-about stars of the season, reportedly excused himself mid-laugh from a group of colleagues the moment Meghan inched closer. He didn't even say goodbye, just walked off to the bar, another witness revealed. It was obvious he didn't want to be caught in a photo with her. Even stylists and journalists, people who usually jump at the chance to grab a quote, a smile, or a quick photo, looked away. One insider whispered later, "Nobody wanted to be photographed with her. Nobody wanted to be seen shaking her hand. In Hollywood, association is currency, and Meghan's stock has crashed. Instead of applause or curiosity, she was met with something far worse: quiet, deliberate avoidance. Conversations picked back up, but this time without her. People angled their bodies away, clinked glasses while refusing to make eye contact, and in some cases, walked off entirely when she came near. According to reports, the tension finally broke when a small group seated near the central tables couldn't hold back their reaction. The first boos started softly, one source explained. But the moment it happened, others joined in. It wasn't deafening, but it was loud enough that everyone noticed. Imagine the humiliation for a woman who once stood on royal balconies to the sound of cheering crowds to now face boos from the very industry she hoped would embrace her. The contrast was brutal. A Hollywood executive described the scene this way: "It wasn't just the boos. It was the way people looked through her, like she wasn't even worth acknowledging. In this business, silence is more powerful than shouting." And she got both. Meghan tried to hold her composure. Reports suggest she plastered on a smile, the same carefully practiced expression she's worn countless times at red carpet events. But the cracks showed. Her eyes gave it away, one attendee claimed. You could see the panic, like she was realizing in real time that this plan wasn't working. Because make no mistake, this wasn't a casual drop-in. Insiders insist her team knew exactly what they were doing. They picked this event because it had the right mix of stars, buzz, and media coverage, said one source close to the situation.
And after, she invited Oprah to the wedding, even though Oprah didn't know her, and she poured out all her anxiety about how badly she'd been treated.
The idea was simple: walk in, dazzle, and reclaim relevance. But the gamble backfired almost instantly. She had no nomination, no official role, nothing to celebrate. In a room full of people who had earned their place, her presence stuck out like a sore thumb. And the more she tried to blend in, the more obvious it became that she didn't belong. Adding to the sting, event organizers reportedly scrambled behind the scenes. Security guards huddled near the entrance, whispering frantically into headsets, triple-checking digital guest lists. One coordinator was overheard muttering, "She's not on the list. I checked 3 times." Another reportedly asked bluntly, "Do we drag her out or let her stay and deal with the fallout?" It was a no-win situation. If they escorted her out, the spectacle would have gone viral instantly. If they let her stay, the whispers would only grow louder. Ultimately, they chose the quieter option. Let her stay, but strip her of all privilege. According to insiders, she was discreetly guided to a seat near the exit corridor, far from the spotlight and even farther from the stage. No red carpet treatment, no champagne toasts, not even a spot in official press photos. She was there, but invisible, one guest said. And for someone like Meghan, invisibility is the cruelest punishment. Throughout the night, the rejection only grew clearer. When Oprah Winfrey made her entrance, the room lit up in applause. When Meghan had walked in earlier, it was silence followed by boos. The difference spoke volumes. And then came the whispers, louder this time, more deliberate. She thinks she can just crash an Emmy party?
Where Oprah walked in late. Do you remember once Meghan was already on stage and Meghan seemed very sort of annoyed about that? Or at the Paley Center Honors because they're both friends.
While Nardi, a producer reportedly said, "This isn't a photo op. This is about the work." The harsh reality became undeniable. Hollywood wasn't interested in lending her credibility. Quite the opposite. They wanted distance. Even those who had once been close to her were nowhere in sight. Her reported friendships with Oprah and Gayle King, noticeably absent from the night. For Meghan, the Emmy nominee celebration was supposed to be her triumphant re-entry into Hollywood. Instead, it became her biggest humiliation. And as the night went on, the sense of rejection only deepened. By the time the champagne flutes were raised for a toast, she wasn't part of the crowd. She was on the sidelines, reduced to an afterthought in a room she once believed she could dominate. The boos may have been the loudest part of the evening, But the silence that followed carried the sharpest sting. And little did Meghan know, this was only the beginning of the embarrassment. Because as the night unfolded, Hollywood's rejection would become even more deliberate and even more public. The cameras didn't stop rolling even after that first round of chaos. In fact, what came next made the atmosphere even more explosive. Reports from inside the venue revealed that Meghan didn't just quietly retreat or try to blend into the background. She actually walked deeper into the event, almost as if she was determined to prove she belonged there. Some eyewitnesses claim she headed straight toward a private VIP lounge where industry elites were mingling. The problem? Her name wasn't on the guest list, and according to insiders, security had already been told to keep an eye on her movements. It was the type of tension.
You can't give anything out of that. You could wish that you would make people laugh. You would smile them to the other end of the room and enjoy, everything about it. But she wasn't given the chance even to say hello and give.
Tense, slow motion moment you'd see in a Hollywood drama, where everyone is watching to see who's going to blink first. One guest allegedly whispered, "Does she really think this is her show?" Another source claimed Meghan tried to greet some executives who looked visibly uncomfortable. Some smiled politely, others turned away, and a few didn't even acknowledge her presence. It was a sharp contrast to the glamorous image she often tries to portray in public. Here, among the heavyweights of television, it seemed like she was completely out of place. The vibe was awkward, and What's even more telling is how the press reacted. Within minutes, social media started to light up with posts from journalists and attendees. Blurry phone videos surfaced online showing Meghan standing alone near the bar with groups of people, whispering around her. One clip even captured someone muttering, "Why is she even here?" A question that quickly became a trending phrase on Twitter, turning into a meme overnight. By now, the crowd's energy had shifted from shock to full-blown entertainment. People weren't just watching her, they were watching each other's. Reactions, almost like a reality TV episode unfolding in real life. In fact, a few tabloids reported that guests compared the whole scene to an episode of Love and Hip Hop, with all the uninvited drama and unscripted chaos. Except this time, it wasn't staged, but Meghan didn't back down. According to some witnesses, she even approached a stage producer, asking if there would be an opportunity for her to say a few words. Imagine the audacity at an event where nominees, directors, and actors were being celebrated. She wanted to grab the mic. Insiders say the producer quickly shut down the request, and not long after, security started making moves. One person described it as the slowest, most polite escort you've ever seen, because even though they were removing her, they wanted to avoid creating an even bigger spectacle. Of course, the spectacle was already happening. The moment word got out that Meghan was being asked to leave, camera phones shot up from every angle. Videos show her looking frustrated, almost arguing with one staff member before finally walking out with a forced smile. But even outside, things didn't calm down. The boos followed her all the way to the exit, and when she finally stepped into her car, a small group of onlookers shouted sarcastic goodbyes. The fallout was immediate. Entertainment outlets ran with headlines like "Uninvited and Unwanted" and "Meghan crashes the Emmys afterparty." Even late-night hosts couldn't resist making jokes, with one comedian quipping, she thought it was a +1 event, but apparently no one wanted to be her +1. The narrative was clear. This wasn't just a misunderstanding, it was a full-blown embarrassment. But the story didn't end there. While some people mocked her, others speculated about her motives. Was this a desperate attempt to stay relevant in Hollywood? Or was she genuinely trying to network, hoping to land some kind of project with HBO Max? Insiders suggest she may have believed showing up would remind industry leaders that she's still in the game, still capable of making headlines. If that was her strategy, it backfired spectacularly. Instead of looking powerful, she came across as out of touch and, frankly, unwelcome. Interestingly, fans online were divided. Her supporters rushed to defend her, saying she was being unfairly targeted and bullied by the press. Some even argued that other celebrities have shown up uninvited to events in the past and turned it into a positive moment. But the louder voices were the critics, people who saw this as yet another example of Meghan trying to force her way into circles that no longer embrace her. And then came the interviews. Several attendees gave quick sound bites to reporters as they left the event. One actor, clearly annoyed, told a paparazzi camera, "This was supposed to be about us. It's the Emmys, not the Meghan show." Another guest laughed and said, "Hollywood has a long memory and this isn't going to help her." Those sound bites spread like wildfire, feeding into the already massive wave of online backlash. The more people talked, the clearer the divide became. On one hand, you had Hollywood insiders closing ranks, making it clear she wasn't welcome in those spaces. On the other hand, you had the public eating up every detail, with social media platforms turning the incident into the biggest, trending story of the night. One tweet even joked, "She didn't win an Emmy, but she definitely won the internet's attention." Still, beneath all the laughter and memes, there was a darker undertone. Some analysts suggested this could seriously damage her brand. Hollywood thrives on relationships, and crashing a high-profile event without an invite is a bold move that can burn bridges quickly. Insiders claim that certain execs were already hesitant about working with her, and now, after this fiasco, the hesitation has turned into outright avoidance. One producer allegedly said, "We can't afford that kind of drama attached to our projects." This paints a grim picture for her future in the industry. Once upon a time, Meghan was seen as a rising figure with global appeal. Now she risks being remembered more for her controversies than her contributions. And unlike a tabloid, rumor this incident was caught on camera, witnessed by dozens of high-profile figures, and blasted across every platform imaginable. The receipts are there, and they're not going away. But here's where the story takes another twist. While Hollywood insiders may be turning their backs, some brands and media outlets are capitalizing on the chaos. Fashion bloggers dissected. Her outfit YouTube commentators dropped hour-long breakdowns of the scandal, and even rival celebrities weighed in with shady comments. One singer posted a cryptic Instagram story that said, "Don't show up if you're not wanted." Fans immediately linked it to Meghan's debacle. By the end of the night, it was clear that what started as an awkward interruption had spiraled into a global talking point. People weren't just asking why she was there. They were questioning what it meant for her future. Could she bounce back from this humiliation? Or had she just sealed her reputation as Hollywood's most unwanted guest? And as the sun came up the next morning, the media cycle only intensified. Paparazzi camped outside her home, reporters tried to chase down her reps for comments, and fans demanded answers. Was this all a stunt, or was it a genuine misstep? Either way, the consequences were undeniable. Meghan had managed to steal the spotlight, but for all the wrong reasons. The noise was deafening. Meghan, who had walked in with a smile as if she belonged there, suddenly found herself trapped in a storm she couldn't control. The boos didn't just come from one corner, they echoed from every direction of the room. People whispered. Some shouted directly and others shook their heads in disbelief. In that very moment, the glamour of the red carpet dissolved into something raw and hostile. This wasn't a celebration anymore, it was a public rejection. Camera flashes kept going off, and every shot told the same story. A woman trying to act, unfazed while the entire crowd told her she was unwelcome. Some attendees covered their mouths in shock, unable to believe the audacity of her appearance. Others rolled their eyes as if they had expected exactly this kind of stunt. But what stood out the most was the silence from the event organizers. The people responsible for running the show, the ones who usually kept things professional, didn't step forward to defend her. No host, no manager, no spokesperson tried to calm the situation. Instead, the atmosphere suggested that even they were blindsided, as if they hadn't been told she would be arriving. And then came the scolding. Not from just one individual, but from several high-profile figures who felt bold enough to speak. Up right there. One voice from the crowd called out, "This isn't your night, why are you here?" Another added, "You weren't invited, respect the boundaries." These weren't whispers anymore. They were direct hits, broadcasted in front of industry insiders, celebrities, and cameras. Meghan, trying to keep her composure, forced a laugh, the kind of laugh people use when they're desperate to make things lighter. She gestured to the cameras, hoping they would capture her in control. But the truth was evident. Her smile was trembling, her eyes darting, and her steps uncertain. As she attempted to move deeper into the venue, people deliberately turned their backs. Some shifted away to avoid being photographed near her. Others exchanged glances, silently agreeing that this scene would be remembered for all the wrong reasons. In a world where reputation is everything, no one wanted to risk being associated with a controversy unfolding in real time. The most shocking moment, however, was when one of the producers reportedly approached her. The conversation wasn't loud enough for cameras to catch every word, but lip readers later claimed he said something along the lines of, "You shouldn't be here, we'll talk outside." The firmness in his tone was visible even if the audio wasn't clear. Instead of exiting gracefully, Meghan attempted to argue. She gestured with her hands, insisting she had a right to attend. She muttered something about supporting the community, about being part of Hollywood's future. But those explanations fell flat because the entire room knew the truth. She wasn't on the guest list. The tension grew heavier as attendees began recording clips on their phones. Within minutes, the footage spread online, turning into one of the night's most talked about moments. Hashtags like Meghan, uninvited, and HBO embarrassment started trending, amplifying the humiliation. What was supposed to be a polished industry night had now become a viral scandal centered around her. And here's where the narrative shifted. The media frenzy outside the venue exploded. Reporters